Hey guys, welcome to Plumbing with Tim. Today we are at a customer's house here in Melbourne, Florida. I'm going to show you how to replace one of these old school American Standard 47107 flush valves to a one-piece toilet. Let's go in. One-piece American Standard old school toilet. And we're going to take that off and I'll show you how to set up the back in there. Yeah, see that? That's the 47107. There's no standpipe. This is the flush valve. We're going to replace this apparatus right here. And you notice how this hose goes into the porcelain. That's how these old one pieces went. So let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, got a little clamp back here. We're going to take what's called, this is the flapper for it, right there. Take that off. Two clips right here we got to remove, and this apparatus comes apart just like that. See that? This is the American Standard 47107 flush valve. You notice we can't get to it from underneath because this is a one-piece toilet. We have 3 screws that are holding this thing into place that we need to back off. Might even have to put some lube on or whatever. Got to be careful because this is porcelain. We don't want to break it. Ooh, we got to move. Yes. Nice and easy. Take your time. No rush. All right, there we go. Let's pull that thing up out of there. Yes. Just like that, and I'll show you how this thing sets in there. Now, I was out at this house last week and I attempted to replace the flapper, which is kind of like a disc, and it still has been running water through there. And I noticed when I was out here it had a little bit of a groove on this spot here, which when that disc was sitting down against it, it was losing water, causing the fill valve to kick on and run. So we're going to put a new one of these in, and I'm going to show you exactly how that's done. This is the flapper disc. See that? That's a little point piece that fits up on there. I'll show you this play by play. All right. This sits down on that little area of the flush valve that had a problem with a groove on it. It wasn't sealing properly. So let's open up the box and see the new one. Carefully, this is how this apparatus actually works. There's no stand tube like a traditional flush valve, okay? This is the flapper disc, okay? And this is a weight. So when the tank fills up like this with water, it gets inside of this little tube and fills that full of water. So when you pull the handle to flush the toilet, this thing lifts up like so. The water drains down through here to a tiny little hole in the bottom. And as soon as that water escapes out of there, the weight of this cylinder will drop back down and seal at that point. The other one had a problem with, there was a gouge down here, which it was leaking water out, causing it to lose water out of the tank, causing the thing to run. I'll show you how to put this thing in. Make sure that we clean this surface real well so there's nothing going to cause any kind of voids or whatever. We're not going to lose any water out of there and cause that thing to leak again. And we're going to take this flapper apparatus off here first. These 2 little pins, and I got to be careful because this plastic will break. One of these little pins has a smaller little edge to it. I'm going to take a little flathead screwdriver and kind of pull it apart. Kind of like that. And just take the piece out of there. Now we're left with this, and this is what we want to sit down as our flush valve inside of the tank. First of all, we're going to take our bag that's got our gasket, and it's got 3 screws and 3 little metal bars in it. Let's open that up. There's the seal gasket right there. That right there is going to go on the bottom side of this. That's going to seal to the bottom of the porcelain. See that? Okay. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our bottom piece that's going to be going and mounting inside the tank. I've got 3 screws. Place one inside of that hole from the top end. Put all 3 of them in there. just like that. See that? And we're going to turn these around. And we've got these little brass blocks that are threaded. You want to go ahead and put these on there as well, nice and easy. You don't want to cross thread anything. And we're not going to be tightening these down right now, so they have to stay kind of, for the most part, loose. See how I did that? Just like that. Let's put the other two on. See, now we've got all three of those little brass blocks. That's the bottom end that's going to go in the hole. So before we put that in there, we're going to place our gasket in, just like that. And that'll sit down inside that porcelain part of the tank. Nice and easy. See that? You got the gasket up underneath here. And we got our 3 screws with our little blocks. What we're going to want to do now, these little blocks have to be turned so they're back and grabbing onto the inside of that porcelain as you tighten this down. Remember, I always say metal on anything, metal's going to win, so you do not over tighten this. And when you set this in, you want the dog ears for where that whole cylinder apparatus and flapper disc is going to be over facing towards your fill valve, like that. Nice and easy, one at a time. Do not over tighten these. You will break that porcelain in a heartbeat. Nice and easy. So we get this thing snug, and then we can test it from there. All right, see that? We got that in there. We got it kind of snug. You're gonna make sure when you put these on that this washer doesn't squeeze its way back out. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our cylindrical piece on here that's got the flapper disc. We're gonna fill it full of water, and then we're gonna go ahead and do a dye test. See what I was talking about with these little clip things? One is like that, and one's got a double side, which is kind of a little smaller. You want to put the bigger blunt end in first, like this. Nice and easy. Remember, it's plastic. We don't want to break it. Like that. Nicely done. Now, this doesn't come with a normal hook. You see this. This has to pass its way through there and cinch up to the right tightness. Remember I told you about that little cylinder there filling full of water. You'll see how that operates. But first, got some liquid powder tracing dye. We're going to put some of that in there and see if anything shows up inside of the bowl. Now you guys see me put that part in. If you ever happen to get lucky enough to run into one of these, first of all, it's tough to find these parts, but we're a plumbing supply, so we have our connections. Don't ever over tighten that thing. You'll whop that hole open and it'll be a busted toilet. Those little rectangular brass squares that are threaded and stuff with the screws and stuff, they are not to be over tightened. You're just snugging that gasket up. And you saw me put tracing dye in there. I'm giving it about 10 minutes and we're going to return and go back in and see if any of that tracing dye has made it into the bowl or not. Okay, time of truth. Ooh, that worked. I don't see any dye inside of the bowl. Excellent. Go ahead and trim that off a little bit, and then we're going to flush it and test it. That's all the time we got for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching the video. These kind of parts in these toilets are very hard to find, but like I said, our business has been going since 1934 and been fortunate to have suppliers that can find these kind of parts. If you happen to get involved in trying to put one of these in, be real careful because you don't want to break that porcelain. It worked, the customer's happy, and we're on to our next job. Thanks so much. Until next time, it's been Plumbing with Tim. Keep plumbing.